Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Again, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Look, y'all, we ain't just starting until I hear a proper wa alaikum assalam. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Now, I could do it again just to torture y'all, but I ain't. But anyway, my name is Mahad Hassan. I go to Carleton University. I'm a first year in computer science. And I'm going to be your MC or your moderator for this discussion today. And I'm here to introduce a man that doesn't really require much of an introduction. Raise your hand if you know who this man is already.
Oh, stop.
My job here is done. Okay, I'm kidding. But he comes in around 5 foot. Okay, he's tall enough. He is a lean.
Get the mic from this guy, please.
He's a lean, mean, dawah-giving machine. Okay, I'm just kidding. But he was previewed. If those of you who don't know, he was on a viral video that was of two children that were fighting, and then he stopped them in the most beautiful ways possible. So listening to him is a real treat. Inshallah, I hope we all benefit from this. Ameen. His name is Ibn Ali Miller, and he hails from Atlantic City, and his teacher is known to be quite a teacher, and made him, or is a person that has helped him in his journey so far. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I don't really need to say much.
All right, perfect. So my name is Ifrah Yusuf, and I'll be the second moderator here today, inshallah. I'm a third-year accounting student at the University of Ottawa, and I will be presenting our second panelist, Razia Hamidi. So Sister Razia is passionate about inspiring positive grassroots change in our communities. Razia has delivered various workshops, lectures, and keynote speeches at conferences and universities. She has made numerous television and radio appearances, such as CBC and CTV, on topics of human rights and Islamophobia, and as a representative of NCCM. Razia holds a degree in educational philosophy and psychology. She has been a leader in the Montreal Muslim community, working on grassroots initiatives and outreach, and has served on various boards within the Muslim community. And she lives in Montreal, like I said, with her husband, and has called Montreal home for the past 8 years. So please give it up for our sister, Razia. So, as you know, today's workshop is called Netflix and No Chill, and it is a youth open mic workshop. So the objective of this workshop is to create open dialogue between iLEAD, Muslim organizations, and the youth. So before we begin on this workshop, I would like to lay some ground rules when asking some questions. So first off, I believe that we should all use I statements as you're only speaking for yourself. So when you're asking a question, please use the words I and don't say we, or as Muslim community we feel. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? Okay, perfect. Be constructive but not disrespectful. Be respectful of everyone's opinions, even if you don't share the same opinion. This is meant to be a safe space for the youth, of course. And do not interrupt and speak over others, and let other people finish their thoughts. So also, if there are any specific questions that Sister Razia or Brother Ibn Ali Miller cannot answer, for example, if there's a question specifically for example, the Carleton MSA or something like that, please write them down, and we will send the question to who it pertains to, inshallah. And unfortunately, we will not be taking questions after the workshop. Sounds good? Okay, so I guess we'll just begin. Does anyone have any questions? And also, we have some volunteers who are roaming around. Please identify yourself, who have the pen and papers, right there in the back. If you don't feel comfortable speaking in front of everyone, you can just write down your thoughts, and they'll pass it over to us to say for you. So does anyone have any questions that they're willing to say aloud? Yes?
There's pressure. They really only kind of hang around themselves because they
Subhanallah. Assalamu alaikum. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Wa sallallahu ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam. Ya Allah, please give us all sincere intention and good opinion of each other. Ameen. Before I answer the sister's question, the only thing that I want to add to the introduction, everyone give a round of applause for the moderators. SubhanAllah, as students, it's not that easy to be up here. So please give them a lot of love and a lot of encouragement. But if we're going to have this session, and if we really want it to have a benefit, then we have to keep it real. It's a must. And when I say keep it real, right, is that what she said about being respectful and this and that and this and that, all of that goes into keeping it real. But what everyone has to know here is that all of us are struggling in some kind of way. So even if you're a young person, your parents, they've been young before. They know what you're going through better than you think they do, right? So, and your parents, they paid money for you to come here. They made sure you got here and right in this session. So your parents, they're here to gain a perspective. So any of the elders that are in the room today, we need you to be honest and we need you to be open so that way you can give the elders in your community a better perspective, that way they can better serve you. So please, like no one be afraid. Everyone here, all these people here, if you know each other, I'm sure you love each other. But honestly, I know you a little bit because we're all Muslims. So I know what time you wake up to pray. I know what time you pray your last prayer. I know what you're doing in Ramadan. Like, we know like basic stuff. But these people in this community, they know you well. And they would be better to answer more of these questions, even in private, to a deeper extent. So please, all of you young people, be very, very open. And if you keep it respectful, there's not a boundary that you can pass, inshallah. So about the question for the sister, where I live, the majority of the people I grew up with were Muslims. Everyone's names like Ali, Shahid, Naeem, Muhtar, Mustafa. Almost all of my friends were Muslims. And almost all of my friends went to jail and committed crimes too. And so environment is like, it's key. It's just most important. It's just environment. I can't stress it enough. Environment. And the thing with young men is that young men, we go through phases. So Ibn Ali at 14 was different than Ibn Ali at 10. And then Ibn Ali at 16, and she's a psychologist, so we can go through like adolescence and all that stuff, like childhood adolescence and the adult adolescence, and like so there's different chemical imbalances that go through your brain, and it's different for men and it's different for women. So one of the things, like when you're young, particularly if they're in high school, so they're between 14 and 18, is there are a few key things to keep in mind. Is that you have this pressing urge of the opposite sex. Even if they're really, really good boys and they never ever speak about it, they're still boys, right? So you have this, that's one thing. But then you also have, when you're like 14 or 15, you just have this need to be accepted by the other men around you. There's like, for all men want to be respected by other men. I can't explain it, you know? That's why bullying is such a problem. It's not even like the jokes and stuff that's the big problem. It's because other men are feeling less respected, you know? And the thing is that these guys are, I know we look at them as kids at 14, 15, 16, but in the Deen, when they get these ages, they're mukallaf. They're accountable people, right? So what I would say is, one, just stay in tune with his environment. Where you're going, what you're doing, right? You can never burden him too much. Where you're going, what you're doing, right? And after that, you have to press it on him to learn the Deen. He has to have knowledge. He absolutely has to have knowledge because he can't fight evil if he doesn't really know what evil is. So of course the things you mentioned, the girls with the girlfriend, boyfriend, the drugs, the fighting and stabbing, right? But all of those things, there are things that happen to take place to lead up to all those major things. There's a bunch of other minor sins that lead up to you making a major sin. So I think sometimes a lot of us, we worry about like the apparent bad thing, the apparent major sin involved. But in reality, we need to be more concerned with all of those itty-bitty little minor things that lead up to this. And it sounds like your kids are already doing good. So I would say just keep doing what you're doing. From the introduction that you gave, I would just say keep doing what you're doing. But if you want to concrete that in them, they have to have knowledge for themselves. They have to. Because their Deen, if you're really like strong in your worship, strong in your practice, it's not enough for their practice. If you're a really pious woman, it's not enough for him to be a pious man. he has to learn the deen for himself, because he has to know how to fight shaitan. Because all of this is just from the same enemy, shaitan. But he has to know how to fight him. And it's better to equip them young than to try to put a weapon in their hands when they're older, you know? Inshallah, that's it.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. The only thing I would add to what Brother Miller said would be that school doesn't have to be the only community they have. So I know you're saying that they don't have people around them in their high school, or you think they wouldn't be good influences. I think, especially at this age, parents can take advantage of creating communities for their children outside of that. So I'm sure you have friends who, inshallah, are just as dedicated to the deen and giving their children good tarbiyah, even in high school. So I would say, look for other avenues as well to create that. And I know myself, just growing up here in Canada, like having that outlet outside of school gave me strength to deal with the challenges inside my school as well. So I think just because maybe their immediate high school doesn't have a support system doesn't mean that you can't find it elsewhere and derive strength from it. So I would say create that for them as well. Find like-minded parents who are just as passionate, who've got kids that perhaps, inshallah, are on that same path, and your boys can find a strong support system and open up to them as well if they don't feel comfortable, or that relationship, like you said, it's subhanAllah, with high school, is you take it one day at a time. You don't know what's coming their way. So friends play a very integral and crucial role at that point. So, inshallah, Allah knows best.
Real quick, lastly, because when we were in high school, my mom, and maybe you want to start putting this in your kids now, right? School is for school. That's it. It's not to make friends, not to socialize, right? It's not to have fun. School is for school, right? Just like when you're an adult, work is for work, right? So who cares if there are other non-Muslims or there are even other Muslims who are doing bad things, right? Work is for work. I have a job to do. And I think it's real important that we put in our kids to do what you have to do wherever you are. Get the objective done, And that ties in directly to what she's saying, and then give them that outlet after school hours. Yeah.
Are there any more questions from the crowd? Anyone who wants to speak up? And
if you guys don't ask us questions, then we're going to start pointing at people asking you questions. Okay.
I actually have
Auntie,
a question.
we actually have some questions.
She raised her
written.
hand. Let her get her hand first. Yeah.
Sorry. Okay. You can
Wa alaikum salam. No. You want to go first? Or?
Yeah,
Okay.
I don't mind. So this is I'm smiling you're bringing it up because this is something I want to touch on. I was speaking at a high school conference recently, and this question came up, this idea of where do I get strength from? Where do I get my confidence from? And a lot of our Muslim youth are getting it from the wrong places. It's just, the example Sister Yasmin actually uses this a lot. It's like putting orange juice in a car, right? That car's not gonna run. So our youth are getting their self-worth from all the wrong places and constantly feeling empty. So we've got mental health issues. But what we need to help our youth realize, for example, if one person shut it out, what do you think the top university in North America is? Like in your mind, what's the most prestigious? Put your hand up, tell me. Harvard? Harvard, okay. So Harvard, if I were to offer you a PhD from Harvard right now, with the title, credentials, everything, right now you get to walk into this room, doctor, whatever, from Harvard, would you hesitate? Would you hesitate? No. You would walk up and you would be on cloud 9. Guess what? We have the title of being of the ummah of the Prophet ﷺ, which is 1,000,000,000 times better. Why should we hide that? So if we can help our youth in understanding that their confidence, their self-worth, this is the title. This is what gives you strength and power. And do not hide that. Wear it with pride, as Sister Linda Susur would say, be unapologetically Muslim. Then we can conquer the battles. But if you hide it, you are only chipping away at your faith. So I would say help your son understand the pride he should have in a healthy way, or the pride he should have that he needs to understand who Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is, who the Prophet in his life is, and why that should give him his self-worth, confidence, and strength, and never to hide that. They will bully. They will bully, right? But we can teach our children to be resilient. If they know who they are, if they know where the identity is rooted, inshallah, this will give them strength, so they will be unshakable. Those things will happen, we can't deny that, but we give our children the tools and the confidence so they can navigate through it.
Bismillah. After, inshallah. So I asked you all to keep it real with me, so I'll keep it real with you, right? So, like where I'm from, Islamophobia is just not real. It's just not real to us. To Black Americans, it's just not real to us. We actually look at it as just a new form of racism that they're now putting on the Arabs. Like literally, it's just not real to us because we've already been through all of that, right? And so, but the same answer I have for the sister in the back is the same answer I have for you for your son. He has to learn his deen. That's just the truth. And the reality is one of the biggest differences that we have in the West from our old countries is that children used to learn the deen as children. Today, none of our kids learn the deen anymore. They have this game, that game, and I'm not, hey guys, I play video games too. I'm not saying the problems that you guys have in video games. And that's what I'm saying is that the imbalance of time, we've come to the West and we've lost our concept of time. Because surely, I don't know where you're from, but if he was home, right, that would be a portion of the deen that he would have to get to be socially acceptable. To be culturally acceptable, socially acceptable, there's a portion of the deen you have to learn. Here in the West, right, for you to be socially acceptable as a Muslim, all you have to do is know like some very, 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 very basic things. Very, 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 very basic things. And that's just not enough to fight shaitan. Especially when we get to the age of teenagers, right? Because these young people, I mean, I know we say teenagers, but these are young adults. Yeah. Per the deen, these are young adults. Literally, I mean, their minds are not completely finished developing, their bodies are not completely developed, but these are literally young adults. And then on the flip side of that is that during the time of Rasulullah and your son, he can learn these things if he goes to learn, or we push him to learn, is that there were children on the battlefield. So we hear these great stories about Rasulullah and the Sahaba, right? Some of those Sahaba were children. Some of them were 9, 10, some of them were 14, 15, 16 years old, fighting for the Muslims. And so I get this concept of being good boys. But they used to say it to black men too, be a good boy. Be a good boy. Be a good nigger. That's what they used to say to us. So I'm telling you, don't let your kids come to the West and from white men from Europe to get this concept in their mind. Just be a good boy. Just be a good boy. We can't get anywhere like that. Because in the deen, we had Uthman, right? And he was very, very soft. So soft, right? So if any of you are like that, it's okay. And then we had Abu Bakr, right? And he had the money. The Prophet ﷺ, he said, bring the money. He brung the money. But then you had Umar, shing. So my thing is that I know everyone wants to be Abu Bakr these days. I get it. Everyone wants the money. Everyone's just trying to be a good boy, be a good girl to go get the money. But which one of you are going to be Umar? Which one of you will be Umar? Which one of the women will be like Lady Aisha and be a scholar, a real scholar? Lady Aisha was a real scholar. So who's going to be like that? And so I know we're pushing them to be doctors, lawyers, and this and that, but we got to push them to find their role models in the deen, and you only can find that through learning. And to be like Umar doesn't mean you're going to literally go shing. But no, Umar was so knowledgeable that shaitan would walk on the other side of the street. You want your son to be like that, inshallah.
I just want to touch on one point that brother made. It's interesting, so anthropologists, they study different cultures, right? And they actually have found that aside from North America and Europe, there's actually no term for adolescence. It's you're a child, and then you're an adult. And Islamically, we understand that too, right? The things that become obligatory on you.
That's a good point.
And I think you guys need to understand that. We live in a society where they just want to throw things at you when you're in high school, right? What are you obsessed with? Like marketing, 90% of it is targeted at kids your age. Because you're adults with time on your hands and usually no purpose, because your purpose should just be Netflix and chill, right? So this is the idea. So you need to recognize that and honor yourself as a creation of Allah, that I have a brain, I'm an adult, I'm capable of making decisions. I need to get in touch, like Brother Ali is saying, from a young age you should know our deen, but even if at this point, let's say you have never touched the Quran, you come from a family where that was foreign, or you don't understand what Salah means in your life, it is not too late. You are an adult, you are a creation of Allah, honor yourself. Don't let people tell you you are young and you've got life ahead of you, so just hang out, chill, every day, just, it passes by, you kill time. Recognize you're an adult. And I know that goes against all the messaging we hear, but you need to understand that messaging is coming at you for a reason, right? So open your eyes.
That was one of our uncles in the back, and he had a question first, and then we'll come to you, inshallah.
So you're just asking how to deal with peer pressure? Okay. You want to start?
Okay. You can always go first.
These are loaded topics. Like, these are all sessions on their own. So we're going to try our best.
And then like an hour and a half, it just doesn't do you any justice. And then you're speaking to different people. So you're speaking to parents and you're speaking to children at the same time, right? And the thing about it is that if you don't speak in a way that parents will understand and children will understand, is that we'll all miss it, right? So it's really not enough time. But about peer pressure, subhanAllah, when I was a teen, I had some really rough years. And I did well in school. Like, I graduated with a really high GPA. I scored really high on my SATs. I went to one of the best colleges in New Jersey. So, like, all that stuff I did, like, very, very well. I like varsity letters and like certain sports and different stuff. So I did very well as far as like the things that your parents would want you to do, right? And then, like, me and my boys, we were so influenced by the environment that we live in, the music we listened to, right? The movies that we watched, the older guys that lived in our neighborhoods, the things we would see on the way to school, on the way to the store, just living in that city that we lived in. A lot of mistakes were made. And I think the main thing about peer pressure, for all of the elders to understand, so this is a two-part question, two-part answer. For the elders to understand is that your children may fall to peer pressure. That's just straight up. Your children may fall to peer pressure. What's the proof of that? You used to fall to peer pressure. That's just, right? So, and the person who pressured them into doing bad, right, he may not be the worst person in the world. Sometime your son or your daughter is the one who's pressuring the other kids. And then they say, no, Mom, this guy wanted to do that. That's why we did that. So I think one of the biggest ways, you said like an Islamic way, to like help our children with peer pressure is to connect to them more, to listen to them more, right? Because if you listen to them more, then you'll be able to catch them more when they try to spin you another way. And young people, you try to spin your parents another way, right? That's just how it is. And the thing is that because our parents, alhamdulillah, and this is not an attack at the parents at all, because our parents have lives, they have jobs, they have to take care of us, take care of our siblings, pay the houses, pay the bills, worry about their own personal, they have all these things to do, right? And the fact that you're a young adult now, right, they don't have to spend so much attention on you. They don't have to. But you all have to stop taking advantage that your parents aren't paying as much attention to you anymore. Because now you're taking advantage. You know that when you close the door, your mother trusts you, and you're taking advantage. You know that when you leave with your friends, your mother trusts you, and you're taking advantage. Stop taking advantage. Stop taking advantage. And the thing is that people say, well, why don't you trust me, Mom? Why don't you trust me, Dad? Because you're not trustworthy. That's why. And how does this relationship with our parents directly affect us in peer pressure? It's because as soon as you take your boy's word to mean more than your father's word, you're the loser. As soon as your girlfriend's word, or like, I don't know, as soon as your sister, like, your friend, right? We say like at home, all the girls say, that's my girlfriend. So I don't know if that's like, all right, applicable here? Okay. So like, as soon as you take your girlfriend's word over your mother's word, you're the loser. You are the loser. So a part of being a young adult, right? Like I had a friend, he's studying in Egypt now, right? That's may Allah help him. I mean, he's like he came from Morocco first. That's where he grew up and where he learned Quran. and he was teaching us Arabic in New Jersey. And he said, I find it really funny in your community. I said, what's that? He said, man, you guys, he said, everyone is really, really good when they're kids. As kids, everybody's really, 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 really good. And he said, and then, he said, all of you guys, you turn 13, 14, and he was talking about inner city communities. You turn 13, 14 years old, and then you just don't listen to your parents at all. They don't know anything. Now you're a young adult, and you can do what you want. He said, this is crazy. He said, back home, he said, where we lived, back home, all the kids were crazy. All the kids, everyone was just crazy. All the boys were crazy, the girls were crazy, everyone was crazy. He said, and then when we became young adults, we calmed down, and we give our parents even more respect, because now we know we have to look at them so we can become men and women. This is a concept that we lost here in the West. We want all of our kids to be such good kids. Such good kids. But you're not raising them to be kids, you're raising them to be adults. So I'm thinking maybe if we give them a little bit more room while they're young. Stop structuring them to the T in their time while they're young. Let them be free some while they're young. Let them be creative and have creative minds while they're young. Let them find themselves while they're young. And from this, when they're 13, 14, or 15, they'll trust you enough to listen to you when you tell them, hey, buddy, you know, you got to get your degree, you got to do this, you got to do that, you're going to want to get married in 10 years, boom, 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 it's going to be like this, you know, hey, you're going to watch out for this at university, boom, boom. And I say, okay, I got you. I watch out for that, I watch out for that, I watch out for that, okay. Why? Because they have a trust for you, right? And I haven't lived anywhere else except the West, but I understand the other part of the example, because we were good kids. Like our moms, you better listen to your mom, she was going to get you, my whole neighborhood. And then later on, everyone wound up being thugs and gangsters, right? And then later on after that, the majority of them came back to the Deen. So sometime, Father, that being on the limb, sometime that's Allah Ta'ala breaking you to return you back to Him. And I just think that in all of these problems that we're talking about, all of us have to just accept that I plan, you plan, but Allah is the best of planners, right? And that the habit is that He will break a person so a person will return to Him whenever they will forget. So I think our children these days, and I think you agree, they're pretty heedless about the Deen. So maybe this one thing that got them in trouble with their father, and you yelled at them, and he said, whoa, this is too much for me. He cried, right? Perhaps that's Allah Ta'ala breaking him or breaking her, you know? For her to go back in her room and say, you know what? I got to get to Allah. So trust the process too, I would say. And trust yourselves and who you raised, inshallah. Sorry if that was super long.
No.
Answer.
There's a beautiful quote by an Arab poet, and he says, you tie my hands and feet up, and you throw me in the water and tell me not to get wet.
SubhanAllah.
That's us sending our kids to high school, right? Like you can't expect your child not to be struggling. You can't expect your child not to be in peer pressure. Oh. So, brother said so many good points.
Yeah, real quick, Air 5.
Yeah.
Air 5, yeah. Such a great point. I'm telling you, man.
I'll never forget my mom. So I grew up in Canada. My parents, you know, like many of your parents, probably immigrants. No idea what the high school situation's like here. So one time, my brother forgot his lunch. And I didn't get lunches, but he did. So she, mashallah, comes to the high school to give him his lunch. And she walked through the hallway. And this makes me emotional, I don't know why. But she said, I went home that day and did sujood that my kids are still Muslim. You know, like, as parents, we need to understand what these kids are dealing with. And I've been there, man. I've been in high school. I know what it's like. I've been there. I grew up here. So it is hard. It is so hard. And I have a niece who's young, and she's going to be going to high school soon. And all I keep telling my sister is, keep that doorway open of communication. Parents need to be informed. So the term they use nowadays is woke. Parents need to be woke. Do not get your child a laptop and expect, you know, like he said,
wake up.
Yeah, wake up. And then for kids, it's not kids, adults, you guys, what I'm going to say to you is, as he said, you know, don't give the respect that you should be giving to your parents, to your friends. And second of all, do not think you are above shaitan. Do not think you're above shaitan. The Prophet Adam as-salam fell into, you know, mistake and error because of shaitan. So who are we? And as Brother Miller said, shaitan takes you through 99 doors of good before he takes you through one door of bad. What does that mean? Man, the sister, she just wants to chill. She just wants to hang out. She's nice. We'll just message.
It's halal.
Yeah. She's Muslim. We're just helping each other out. We're studying. Oh, we didn't finish our work, so we're going to video chat tonight. And
just to
before
catch
one
up.
thing, just catch up.
Yeah.
So recognize, don't be a fool. Recognize that shaitan's going to take you down that path, right? So you're going to fall into peer pressure, but that's why you got to pick your friends wisely. I know everyone hears that it's a broken record, but once again, know yourself. Know yourself. And the more that you know yourself, inshallah, you know Allah, and turn back to Him. That door is always open. That door is always open. Go and cry your heart out to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Ask for protection. Ask for strength. Recognize that you are going through a landmine every day when you go to high school. I'm just sorry. Because there were some youth, and I want to give them a chance. Because we haven't had a lot of youth speak up.
Yeah, subhanAllah.
So that's all I got to say about it. Yeah, you had your hand up.
You want to be like your dad, bro? Yo, round of applause for him, yo.
Yeah.
May Allah Ta'ala bless you by the status of your intention.
Yeah.
So, because the Muslims, you only get what you intend. That's it, bro. So all the other stuff is just other stuff, you know? And really, I would say you're in a really good position. Honestly, because there are many other young people here feeling how you're feeling, some of them more than that and some of them less than that. But they're all really afraid to speak. I'm looking at everyone's faces. They all have something to say, the young sisters and the young men, but they're all just really afraid to speak. So I just want to first thank you for being very, very open with us. And those tears that I felt, you know? And what I can tell you though, there's a few things, but I'll keep it very, very brief so you can take this with you. Is that because she mentioned Adam alayhi salam, right? And some of those events that had happened when he had came down, right? But Allah Ta'ala, He says in Quran something that means that if I had a nation of people who did not sin, I will wipe them off the face of this earth and create a new nation of people that did sin. Why? So they can repent to me. So first and foremost, the idea of perfection is not real. Only Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam was perfection. That's it. Other than that, all of us will be flawed. Period. Right? So this Tawbah, right? It's an opportunity for you to make Allah smile. Right? There's in the Shama'il, right? Ali ibn Abi Talib, he was like mounting a horse. He was getting on the horse, right? And he said to himself, or he said there was another Sahabi around, right? And this is after the time Rasulullah had died already, right? And he got on the horse, right? And he said, like, which means basically, oh Allah, forgive me because none can forgive me or none can forgive me my sins save you. No one can forgive me except you, right? And then he smiled, right? And then the Sahabi asked him, he said, yeah, Ali, like, why? You're asking Allah to forgive you for your sins. Why are you smiling, right? He said, because verily I heard Rasulullah say this. And after Rasulullah said this, then he smiled. And I asked Rasulullah, why'd you smile? He said, because verily, when a person would ask for forgiveness and ask Allah for forgiveness and say to Allah that because you are the only one who can forgive me, that it makes Allah smile. And so he smiled. And so I'm telling you, man, like, just make the repentance. Because Iman, no one has like a set Iman. No one has my Iman is always on 10. Or on 8 or 9 or whatever. Like, no one has that. Everyone's iman is going like this or going like this, period. And what you're going through, it warms my heart that you can identify it now. Because there are a lot of young people here today and they are fooling themselves. They think that they're perfect. No joke. They think they don't mess up. They think they don't commit sin. The sin that they do, they think it's not that bad. No joke. But yo, I'm a grown man now. She's an adult too. So is your father. And guess what? Even your father, he struggles like this too. Maybe not drugs and different things, right? But I'm telling you, that bond is between good and evil. All of us struggle. Because the greatest jihad you're going to fight is that war inside of yourself. And the only way to equip yourself, right? The only way to equip yourself is through knowledge. Through knowledge. You have to learn your religion. Because I heard you mention a lot of things. You said witr, you said a bunch of nawafils, you said like a lot of the sunnah things, right? But you know, like in the matters, right, you have that thing that's fard, it's obligatory, right? You have to do that thing that's obligatory. If you do it, you get reward from Allah. If you don't do it, you deserve to be punished. And Allah can punish whom He wills. That's why we say deserve. Then you have the sunnah, right? And like Winston, this is like recommended matter, right? This is the thing that if you were to leave a sunnah off, you wouldn't be punished. But if you were to perform the sunnah, you would gain extra reward. Right? And then you have those matters that are permissible, right? It doesn't take you Maybe like working out, right? You don't get reward for it, or you don't get like a sin from it, right? But and then you have those things that are disliked, right? So this particular thing, if you do it, you don't deserve to be punished, but if you don't do a disliked thing, you deserve to be rewarded. Why? Because the dislike is going to lead to the haram, which is the opposite of obligatory. And if you leave off the haram, you deserve to be rewarded. And if you enjoin in the haram, you deserve to be punished. And I'm afraid today that young people don't have a real scale. Because every single thing that you do ever is going to be one of those things. Obligatory, a sunnah, it's going to be permissible, it's going to be disliked, or haram. That's what all the actions are, one of those 5 things. And so you need to learn a scale for yourself. So that way immediately when you do a thing, you're not just worrying about how you feel, you're saying, you know what? Did I do what I needed to do? Did I do something that could have made me better? Did I do something that kind of really had no meaning at all? Did I do a thing that could put me in a worse position? Or did I do the worst thing possible and commit sin to Allah? You got to know that for yourself. And I think you're looking for a balance. And I think in the knowledge, like you learn all your obligations, you learn the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ, right, as separate things. Learn what you have to do first. All of you young people, first, learn what you have to do. Because if you're doing a bunch of sunnah, you're doing a bunch of optional deeds, and you're not doing those obligatory matters, your deen is going to be off point. You're going to be off point. And the thing about young people is that all of us are feeling. That's how we get in trouble as young people. That's how I got in trouble as a young person, only worried about how I feel and not using my brain. Right? In the session with just boys, I'll give you another thing that my mom used to tell us. Really, use your head, man. This head, man. Use your head, right? And all of these matters, use your head, bro. You know? But you can't do that unless you learn and properly equip yourself. And that way you will get away from feeling and you will get yourself to knowing. And when you know, some of these things, they won't weigh on you so heavy. And some of these things, they will weigh on you much heavier than they do now. Inshallah.
I love this because I'm going to compliment everything you just said. So Islam is a process. It's constantly a process of becoming, right? We never get to perfectionism, and that's why we've got so many people dealing with mental health and depression, because we're all obsessed with being happy. Nowhere in the Quran does Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala say that this life is about happiness, right? We're not created to chase happiness. But
I'm happy, yeah.
Right? And this is why we're all depressed, because we're chasing happiness. We're constantly depressed because that's what we're chasing. But the other thing I'm going to say, and this is just practical aspects of what Brother Miller's saying. So you guys are like, what does that mean, study the deen? And so when Brother Miller's saying we're so attached to feeling, I don't want to listen to that sheikh, I'm not feeling him. I don't like listening to the lecture, man. He doesn't speak to my... So we become entertainers. We are not entertainers. Right? We're here to, if we can remind you of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we can benefit you with one word, alhamdulillah. But don't look at your Islamic knowledge and tarbiyah as entertainment. Just like you guys go to class, right? Yeah, your teacher might be boring, but her job is not there to entertain you. So that mentality, there's actually a great book if you guys ever want to pick it up, Amusing Ourselves to Death, right? We're obsessed with constant entertainment. So when we say seek knowledge about the things that are fard in our life, I'm talking about like wudu. So the hadith, for example, the Prophet ﷺ said, the wudu is like taking, something dirty. If you were to dip it into the river 5 times a day, would it not be clean? How the Prophet ﷺ said, I will recognize my ummah on the day of judgment. By their limbs, they will be shining because they used to make wudu. Tell me, are you going to go make wudu today and think about that? You're gonna want to go all the way up.
You are the light in the hereafter.
Yeah. So when we're talking about learn your fire, I'm talking about this. Break it down. The shaitan wants you to go approach the fluffy things about deen. Oh, that lecture moved me. Oh, I like that. This is why we crash. Because we have an emotional attachment to our deen, not based on firm ground, which is rooted in knowledge. And anyone can learn that. We're not talking about scholarly knowledge. We're, like I said, just learn what are the hadith that surround wudu? What are the hadith that surround my prayer? The benefits of it. How do I perceive it? Ramadan is coming up, right? This is the refuel. This is where you're, like, just as that race car goes around and it's got to make that pit stop, your prayer is that pit stop 5 times a day, but we need to actually understand what I'm getting out of it. Right? So this is what I'm talking about. Anyone can learn this. You don't need to be a university student. You don't need to be a grown adult to learn this. MashaAllah, these are basics that we can approach. The Sahaba used to say, subhanAllah, they used to say that when we taught our children Quran, we would teach them the seerah alongside it. They couldn't have one without the other. So starting with learning the Prophet ﷺ, the fact that we can probably name all the Kardashians and what their life status is right now, what's going on, we've got issues, right? So just be real with yourself. Be real with yourself, and I would say just start with the basics. And like I'm talking the shahada, actually understanding the shahada. I made this point last night. I was at the masjid. You know, if we actually understood what ashhadu la ilaha illallah means, we'd be set. I submit to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I am the slave of Allah. And to find love and strength in that. So inshallah, the more you learn your highs, because we have highs and lows, but the more you learn, inshallah, those highs and lows will still be within the Islamic guidelines. So strengthen yourself in the basics, because shaitan wants you to focus on the random things and the fluff and not solidify that. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give you strength, and jazakallah khair for sharing that with us.
Real quick, 1 second, brother, is that, subhanAllah, and you guys, this is not to come down on the youth and say, go learn because you can't teach yourselves. So that's the other thing, is that none of us can teach ourselves. That idea of going to go learn on my own, just opening up the Quran, right? Open up the books of the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ, right? Open up some of the books of the great scholars from our nation, right? None of us are on levels to just go in there and just do that by ourselves. You need a teacher. You need a teacher. And here's the thing about Islam is that Islam came to reform society. Islam came with a set of laws, right? So we say the Sharia, the Sharia, the Sharia. No, don't you know that that's meant to be upheld by a judge? Like if you drive and get a parking ticket, right? Like there's supposed to be a judge when you don't make wudu, right? Or when you skip on your fast. You got to go to court for that. You have to go to court for that. And there's a had to punishment that comes with that, right? If Allah Ta'ala will give you that, I don't know, right? But you deserve the had punishment. So if you steal, the had punishment for that is the right arm first. Ching. That's what you deserve. But we don't live in a place where it's like that. And everyone says, oh, that seems so crazy about the Deen. But yeah, when they were doing that, guess how many people stole? Not many. But here's the thing about the good deeds and bad deeds. And this is something for young people really to understand. Any good thing that you do, you deserve a reward in this life or the next life. You deserve that. This life or the next life. So it might be better for you not to get the reward now, but to get the reward in Jannah. It might be better for you. On the flip side, anything bad you do, you deserve to be punished for it. Either in this life or in the next life. And it would be much better for you to receive a punishment in this life than in the next life. So the thing about stealing, right? I'm just using stealing because it's a good example, right? But put any other sin in that, minor or major, is that there's a punishment that comes with that you deserve. And perhaps there's no one here around here to cut your hand off. What if Allah Ta'ala decides He's going to let you get the punishment that you deserve in the next life? But you're not even worried about that because you don't know. Because you don't know. You don't know. And that is a communal problem. I failed you in that, right? We've all failed you in that. We're failing in that. We are, as adults, we are failing in this area of learning knowledge. Many of us have been Muslims our entire lives, and we just know how to be basic Muslims. But my thing with young people is that now you know that your parents don't know that much Deen. You know that, you're living with them, right? Your dad, he came here, he went to work. He went to work. Your mom, she came here, she went to work. And because they went to work, just like my mom, they don't know that much Deen. They know a couple surahs that they know, maybe a lot of surahs they know from where they grew up. They know certain hadith that they quote to you over and over and over and over and over again. They know some other basic rules in fiqh. And then that's it. And then all of you, once you learn that, you act like you know everything. And you don't. And you take advantage of them not knowing. Because I heard from brother so-and-so that they said this, and I was feeling that lecture. Nah, mom, one of the guys on the YouTube said this. SubhanAllah. So just keep it real with yourself with these issues, inshallah. I think there was an uncle here and then a sister here.
I think we're gonna give priority. Sorry, brother. I think we're gonna start giving priority to youth. We've had a lot of mothers and fathers ask questions, so there's a lot of youth who have some questions. So we're gonna ask this lovely sister here first. Yeah.
I just want to let everyone know that we've extended the time a little bit for the workshop. So the original end time was, I believe, 3:30.
Yes.
Correct me if I'm wrong.
next session is also delayed then?
Yeah, we're gonna shift everything.
Because I have one right after this. Okay, sounds good.
Inshallah.
Just delay the second one too.
Just make sure you're vocal. Make sure everybody can hear you. Young women, don't like modesty, right? And you all have to be modest. But a part of that, when it's time to speak up like the women did in the past.
I mean, if you want, you can take one of these microphones.
Alhamdulillah. Got it.
I hope my voice doesn't crack when I'm talking.
Subhanallah.
All right. So, assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
So, my question is kind of like revolving around mental health because I've dealt with some episodes of anxiety and whatnot, and because of that, I tried talking to my mom about that and my dad, and there were occasions where both my parents said, do you want to know why you have anxiety? It's because you don't know enough Deen. It's because of the fact that you don't really have that connection to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But even though the truth is, it's because I actually have like a bit of like a mental illness of some sort. And I actually speak to a counselor about that. But the thing is that I really want to be more open to my parents about mental health and whatnot. And anxiety is actually a mental disorder. It's not really stemmed upon belief and whatnot. So do you have any advice on how I can be more open towards my parents?
I'll start, and then I'll let her really answer the question, because she's working in this particular field.
Okay.
Like per my teachers, so first I gotta say that the first part of the answer, I have to say that your parents are right, and that your parents are probably going to be right, right? And I think with our parents, one thing that I need all young people to do with your parents is when they tell you something, right, and 10% of it is like not on point, don't negate the other 90, right? So when they tell you something, look for the benefit in what they're telling you. Like, stop going against them so hard where it's like, you don't know what you're talking about. And maybe they don't know some of what they're talking about because the times are different. But you have to look for what's good out of what they're telling you. You have to. You know, that should be your approach with your parents when they're speaking to you. So, but like per my teachers, because like people would say like mental health is like a new thing, but no, the study of it's like in secular education is a new thing. But in the Deen, we have like Majnoon. So in the Deen, this idea of insanity, right? And it comes different forms, different kinds. And I've dealt with this in my own personal life with people in my own family personally for a very, very, very long time. But anything that is a problem, Allah Ta'ala sent a cure. He promises that. And so in reality, it's because those people who used to be able to deduce from the Quran, from the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ, and find the remedies for these things, a lot of those people, the level of, it just doesn't, in many places it doesn't exist anymore. So we don't even have like some shiyukh who study the Deen to a particular extent where they will be able to deduce what you would need, right? So that's first. This is a Deen problem. This is a big, big Deen problem, right? But on the flip side of things, I think you know yourself very well. I think you know yourself very, 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 very well. I think you've been getting to know you for many years now, right? And so when it comes to you, I trust more what you say about you than anybody else, right? And if you're telling me that you need help, then I have to find a way as your brother to get you the help that you need together, right? So with your parents, maybe, right? Because your parents, where are your parents from? Are you first generation here? Okay. Yeah. So your parents, we didn't have like, in Somalia, they don't have all the medical treatment. They don't have a bunch of psychologists running around. They don't have a bunch of psychiatrists running around. They don't have all this stuff. And your parents, they've seen these things before, right? And they're saying, you know what? You just need Deen. That's how we grew up. Your parents, they're a little bit more tougher and have rougher edges than you do because they've grown up in a different way than you do here in the West. So some of the things that are bothering us, our parents don't know to consider because they don't see the problem. They just don't see the problem. And I think in fairness, maybe don't go to your parents for them to understand you. because they may not understand you. And you may not understand them until you become a parent, right? So everyone, stop looking for understanding. But if it's help that you need, then you need to go to them for help. And I'm telling you, your parents, they're going to help you. If they truly understand from your side that, no, I'm not coming to you to explain my problem with you. I'm coming to you to let you know that I need help with my problem because I can't deal. And you seem like a really strong young sister. So you seem like maybe you try to deal with a lot of things on your own. And but you got to take some of that weight off. You know, you gotta take some of that weight off, you know? Like, you just gotta take some of that weight off. The pressure, the schooling, the this, the that, the this, all the, gotta take some of that weight off. And all of you, because it's not necessarily just her parents' job, but all of you young women, you have to help her take some of that weight off. You have to be there for her to take some of that weight off. That's your job to carry that burden with her. Likewise, for the brothers, for the young man who is here, it's your job. It's your job to carry some of that weight for him. That's what being friends is really about, you know? So if you're gonna have, you know, like you're talking about peer pressure, the other side of peer pressure, right, is peer support. So the same way that peer pressure is one of the things that it's killing our youth, literally. Not now, but during the history of youth, right? On the flip side of that, one of the most encouraging, right? And this is no doubt, everyone everywhere, I don't care what language you speak to, everyone everywhere agrees with this, is that peer support will boost young people's iman. Peer support. True peer support. Be there for your brother and be there for your sister. You will be a better brother and she will be a better sister. Likewise, and so will the helpers. So that's, inshallah.
Not too much more I can add to that, but just I think it's important, so the parents aspect, as brother said, you know, to keep trying to have those conversations with them. Alhamdulillah that you are seeing a counselor. I think we have to recognize that there's only so much sometimes we know how to help ourselves, so it's important to seek that help, inshallah, and making sure that your parents are there supporting you while you get that. Sometimes when someone's dealing with depression or mental health, anxiety, we just tell them you're not making dua enough. And that's not necessarily the case. Someone can be, mashallah, very attached to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but still struggling with this. So I think, alhamdulillah, I know Ottawa, mashallah, has a growing number of Muslim counselors. So, you know, utilize that, someone who's rooted in faith, who can help you with that balance of spirituality and, inshallah, the challenges that you're dealing with anxiety. So respect your parents, but seek their help and support through that. And peer support is the biggest one. This is at any age. We're more isolated than we've ever been. Islam is a communal religion. It's a communal faith, and unfortunately, we've stepped away from that because of social media. So everyone's just on their own, struggling. We're not talking about it. Like, mashallah, that brother speaking up, I'm sure gave courage to so many other people. But seek out, if you've got friends and you don't talk about real issues, start, and I bet you they're going to open up and be like, I'm going through that too. So many times, you know, people are struggling alone and they're too afraid to speak up. So, inshallah, lean on those people that are close to you and drive strength from that as well. But seek help when you need to, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Inshallah.
Walaikum
Can I say one thing?
Yeah.
I'll let you answer it. But the Prophet ﷺ, he said something that means, tell the truth even if it's bitter. Like, that's like, at the end of the day, it's just like, your job is sincere advice, right? The job of this Deen is a religion of sincere advice. And that none of us are above receiving advice when it comes to us. And if a person doesn't receive advice, right, then it's something wrong with them, not the advice giver. And we live in a world where like social media has created like anarchy, because everyone can do and say what they want, go in the comments, bash, this, that. So people who would usually give advice are like, I don't even want to say anything. Everyone's going to jump on my back, jump on my case. But the thing is that, and this all comes from learning as well, is that, no, there's nothing wrong with the advice giver. There's never anything wrong with the advice giver, right? if the advice giver is not trying to embarrass the person he or she is giving advice to. So like, maybe if this thing is going on Facebook, maybe you send a message instead of putting it on the comment. Because if you put it on the comment, you just did that for everybody to see what you said. And the message is personal. That person can receive it, they can digest it, they can know it came from a sincere place, and only you and I know about that. Right? If it's in the physical, right, then perhaps I'll pull you to the side. I don't say it in front of everybody. Because if I say it in front of everybody, right at the dinner table, then I know that maybe you're just trying to like show off and just show that I don't know something, or show that I can't do something, or show that I'm doing bad, right? But if you come to me to, like the Prophet was telling me, he honored the private conversation. The private conversation is so key, man. Not like, hey, let's whisper to each other and talk about bad. No, I mean like sincere private conversation with someone. Like, hey, listen, bro, I would never like display your sins, but I gotta tell you something. I'm your friend, and this is how it is, bro. And say, like, I'm not saying this, right? I bring you to the side on purpose so that way you wouldn't take my intention to be something other than just wanting to help you. I just want to help you as your friend. And even if they don't take the advice that time, they'll remember you. You'll go down in their brain and their heart as a good advice giver. And when they want the good advice, they're going to come find you. They're going to come find you. And the people who didn't give them good advice, when they won't get advice, they're going to cut those people off. And they're going to come find you. The person who they stored in their brain and in their hearts is a good advice giver. So I think about the end game. Whenever giving advice and all that kind of stuff, or helping people, any of that kind of stuff, think about the end game, right? Always think about the end game. What's the end game? What am I trying to get out of the end game? I just want this person to be a good Muslim. So if that's really what it's about, right? I don't want this person to just, she's in our group and she's embarrassing us because we're the certain kind of girls that don't do this kind of thing, right? If that's the, like, it's not, it doesn't mean anything. It's just like girl stuff. Like, it doesn't mean anything. But if the end result is for her to be a good Muslim, not today, but in 10 years, be a good mom, be a good wife, be a good person at her job, be a good community member, be a good teacher, all these things are going to come place later on in your life, right? When it's not just about what me and my girls think. If it's about that, then you're going to do that in a certain way that will produce that. So, and I'm not saying that you give like bad advice, but the main thing is, and if you give good advice, give better advice. And find ways. And the Prophet ﷺ, when he would deal with children, and the only reason why I'm mentioning children here is because I think we need to deal with even some of the elders like children. Some of our own peers, we need to deal with them how we deal with children. We need to be more soft. We got this thing, we come to the West now, we're all so hard. Everyone's just so hard now. I'm telling you. But then everyone's so soft at the same time because as soon as someone says something you don't like, you go away and cry. Everyone's so hard, you know? And so, like, the big thing, man, is like the advice giver is going to soften it up. You're going to soften it up, you know? You're going to.
Those are too big.
Yeah, subhanAllah. Yeah. They're huge.
I want to understand your question better. So you're saying that you feel like you're on eggshells, like you're. Okay, can you say it again? I want to be clear on what your question exactly was. To be firm. So, you know,
Oh.
yeah.
Oh, you're talking about the opposite.
Yeah.
Oh, yo, stay
That's
away
what I
from
thought.
her, yo. Straight up, yo.
But
Like,
not
seriously.
non-Muslims.
Straight up, yo. Stay away from her, yo. Not joking. I'm dead serious. She's my sister. If I see it, I'll punch you right in your face. I'm not joking. It's that deep, yo. Stay away from her, yo.
But you're probably talking about non-Muslims, right? Like people in your school, just Muslims.
Muslims, nah, these young kids.
Wow.
Yo, these young guys. Yo, you guys, I'm telling you, man. No, stop taking
I'm
advantage,
gonna let
yo.
him take that, yeah.
Seriously, stop taking advantage. And this is not just like, why? Because maybe you're not taking advantage of her. Maybe it's not her. But yo, you got, hey, be quiet back there. Seriously. No, this is very, very, very important. Stop taking advantage. Because if she makes a mistake, she's ostracized. You've messed up her chances at marrying. You've ruined it all.
Male privilege.
I'm telling you, man. If you want to be a man and really be a man, go to her father. Go be a man then. Because this issue, I'm tired of it, yo. They're women, bro. Seriously. Like all the guys say, I don't like the feminists talking all this and all that. They want to be, okay, so you're saying that you're stronger, then be stronger then. Be stronger in Iman. I'm telling you, it's easier for us to trick them than for them to trick us. I'm telling you. Stop taking advantage. Stop taking advantage. Because then you go off somewhere and you marry whoever you want and you just ruined her. Shamed her father, bro. What about her future, her kids, all that? You just don't care. And I fear that you don't care because you don't know. You need to go learn, man. Seriously. Because this issue about the opposite sex is what we're going to use this whole hour and a half to talk about. Because parents, I got to tell you, if you want to know what's really, really, really killing our kids today, it's the opposite sex and not knowing how to deal. Because guess what? In the West, America and Canada, the way that the opposite sex deal with each other is completely un-Islamic. Completely un-Islamic. Down to the mingling, so in the name of studying. Yo, go get a guy study me. Go get a girl study me. Get out my face with that stuff. I'm telling you. Stop kidding yourself. Oh, brother, you know we're all in the MSA. Well, have a guy MSA and a girl's MSA then. I'm dead serious, man. If you can't control yourselves, man. Don't disrespect like that. Don't do that. I'm telling you, this issue is too serious. And future families are getting ruined because we don't know how to deal. And then we come up with all this fantasy stuff of why we have to deal with each other. And it's just not real. And here's the thing. Okay, I get it. We're in the West. I'll give you a little bit of validity, right? We live in an intermingling society. It's cool. You're going to have a woman boss probably. You're going to work with somebody, go to school here, go to school there. Well, what about the Deen? Or is Islam not the same because where we're at today? Islam, it came to protect a few particular things. Two of those is status and lineage. Status and lineage. And because you can't control yourselves, you're killing her status and embarrassing her lineage. And you get to go high because you're a man. Think about the whole ummah. If we weaken the crown jewel of the ummah, if we weaken the women, we weaken ourselves. We weaken the women, we weaken our children, we weaken the future. That's what happens when you weaken women. Build her up. Maybe you be the brother, when the brother in her face, you say, yo, bro, get out of her face. From that, trust me, you'll be the guy she marries. Because guess what? Not even joking. For both sides. No one wants to marry the one that they committed a sin with. Yeah, girls. There's no guy who wants to marry you if he got the first, not even, if he even got the first base, he doesn't want to marry you. He will not marry you knowing that you're someone that will go to even to first base. He won't even he will never go to your father. And then when it comes to the adults, he'll deny it. But on the flip side, bro, I gotta tell you the truth, bro. Do you want to be the guy that when she finally does get married, she's constantly repenting about the mistake that she made for you? For the rest of her life, you're the guy she made a mistake with. Is repenting to Allah until she dies because something that you can control yourself with. You want to be that guy? Because that's who you are. The guy she has to repent about. So please, parents and children, stop faking. Stop faking. That Instagram, that Facebook, MTV, BET, the streaming, all of it. Because she said it today. All the marketing plans is to attack you. You know what sells? Sex sells. That's what sells. It sells iPhones. It sells glasses, microphones, water, cars. Today, sex is even selling Islam. Yeah. So about this issue, please stop faking and stop lying to yourselves.
I gotta put some heat on the sisters. Is that cool?
No, yeah. The brothers, I'm a
Yeah,
man.
no,
It's like
I know.
Yeah, I just know the games that we play. We play a lot of games, like.
And so I'm going to speak to the sisters because this is big. So I recently actually gave a workshop on gender interaction. And I don't believe gender interaction is just the stuff on the top. We need to go deeper, and this is the problem. We don't go deep enough. Gender interaction is seeking attention and self-worth from a male and thinking that we need them to fulfill us. So when we're listening to Rihanna or listening to these songs that are all about love, there's a reason that 90% of songs are about love. It's a strong emotion. You need to recognize that they're trying to stir that in you, right? So when we watch certain movies, the emotions. So you need to recognize that attention, that self-worth, I need to be getting from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You can't trick yourself. You can't think that this is going to make you feel better. Anything that starts in haram will end in haram, and it will end in heartache. Anyone who's ever started something behind their parents' back, trust me, it hasn't, like he said, that's not the person you're going to marry. I had 2 brothers, younger than me. When they're in university, I told them, I said, you even think of a girl, you better be ready the next day to go propose to her. Don't go open that door. So sisters, similarly, if you know you're in high school, you're in university, you are in no position to get married, your dad is not going to let that happen, do not entertain that. Don't think, oh, no, we're just talking, and inshallah in a couple of years, he's going to be done, and we're going to get married. Don't fool yourself. And recognize that you're only seeking this attention because, you somewhere in there, you're not fulfilled, but that fulfillment only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can fill. This is all just superficial and temporary, and that's what this, marketing, this is everything that's trying to come at you with. Music is a tool of shaitan. There's a reason these emotions are trying to be stirred in you. So there's a natural desire for companionship. You'll get there one day, inshallah, where you can do it in a halal mean, but right now you need to recognize that attention I'm getting from that guy is actually not what I want. I know that is harmful for me. And I want to get it through halal means. I need to work on my relationship with Allah, and that is going to give me more fulfillment. So it's deeper than gender interaction. But yes, as Brother Miller said, flirting is interaction. That's how we communicate. So you have to step away from that. Make those boundaries clear. Lean on your female friends. Be like, hey, if you see me talking to that guy, pull me aside. You know that guy is not good for me. So lean on each other for support for that, because then that sister, will be the one who, inshallah, will be like, I know you're messaging him, give me your phone, we're deleting him, right? And we're laughing because we know, alhamdulillah, if you've got a girlfriend like that, you hold on to her tight. So talk openly, seek support from someone close that you respect and knows is looking out for you, but honor yourself and know your boundary and know that I actually don't even care about that guy because he's just a loser in high school right now, but I'm seeking attention for the wrong reason. So may Allah strengthen you, but go deeper. Really ask yourself those tough questions.
I just want to add one thing, and for the adults, because we have culture barriers in the Deen. Everyone knows about the culture barriers in the Deen, right? So there are certain Muslims who practice, right, certain places, and per their culture, we do things like this, right? Per this culture, we do things like that. And marriage is one of the biggest things, right, that is different from culture to culture to culture to culture, right? And I'm a black American, right? We, in our culture, all of us marry young. Everybody got married young. All of it. I'm going to be 28 next month. I've been married almost 10 years. Why? Because our parents aren't fooling themselves. Our parents aren't. Why? Because there are some things that you're not going to be able to stop between human beings. So real quick, right? It's going to be a little bit vulgar, right? Sex is a human thing, and it's perfectly fine. It's natural, and it's normal. Even to feel this way at 14, 15, 16, 17 years old, it is normal. Every human being has felt these things. However, we're not teaching them how to deal. Because on the flip side, okay, they get married in high school. What's the worst that can happen? They didn't commit zina? Honestly, what's the worst that can happen? She'd have a baby or something? Yeah, by her husband. And they'll raise them. I heard a guy say, I gotta get money to get married. And I get it, you gotta get money to get married, right? Cool, I got you, right? I got you. I was poor when I got married. Straight up. Like my wife's dowry, I was like, man, thank you so much for giving me a woman like this, right? And today, I will give her literally whatever she asks me for. Literally, whatever she would ask me for, I will give her whatever she would ask me for. Because she was with me when I was literally poor. So sometimes, and I feel like, and then they get married and they get like these perfect spouses. It's like, okay, this guy has a job, this checklist, and then their relationship is a shell. It's a shell. They don't even like each other. They're just married for the sake of being married. Maybe our families are together, maybe this or that, or this or that, this or that, and we don't even like each other. We don't even like each other. These ages of being young, they are priceless. They are priceless. I think the idea of marriage, we need to revisit it. We need to revisit it. We need to revisit what's too young. We need to revisit how much money is enough money. Rasul always tell him he just didn't have money like that. He spent all his money to spread the deen. And he got married. Period. During the time of the Sahaba, they got married 14, 15, 16 years old. Because the men were men. The men were men. They were ready to be somebody's husband. They knew enough about Allah. They knew how to follow the Prophet ﷺ in a particular way that they could lead a woman and lead a family. Because they were men. And the women they were marrying, they were women. They weren't little girls. They weren't little girls. They were marrying women and who were 14, 15, 16 years old. And I'm not saying anybody today get married at 14, 15, or 16. I'm not pushing that on anybody because I don't know your cultures that well. But I just want to give you something from my culture. What has helped us is people getting married at 15, 16, 17, 18 years old. It has helped our community a great deal. Because these days, there are not too many kids being born out of wedlock like it used to be. Because the ages when kids are being born out of wedlock, we're letting them get married. And so you want to adopt some Western ideals? I'll give you a Western ideal that might be good to you for you to adopt. You ready? So in the West, everyone has a girlfriend or a boyfriend. The boyfriend comes over, the girlfriend comes over, right? They go out, they boyfriend and girlfriend, right? That's how it happens in the West. I think to myself, what's so wrong with our young Muslims getting married, right? She still lives here, he still lives there. We let them come here sometimes, they stay there sometimes, they go here, they go out, we still give them, we're going to support them anyway. We had to revisit this issue because I'm telling you, if you want to know really where we're losing our kids, this is where we are losing them. And yeah, zina, right? That's the major sin. You deserve 100 lashes and a year in exile. That's the had punishment for fornication. That's what you deserve. 100 lashes in exile is what you deserve for this. My thing is, who doesn't want to save their children from 100 lashes in exile? That's the major thing. But what did I have to do to get to that point? I had to lie to my parents. I had to be deceitful and have two faces. I had to sneak. I had to go here, I had to go there. And every single thing I did to that, I'm going to be punished for all of that up until the major sin. We started off by saying it's not the big apparent things, man. It's not the big apparent things. It's not. All of those things that lead up to it. Because guess what? If you let your young people get married, they won't just have sex all the time. How do you know? Because we're married and we just don't do that all the time. It's not real. They're going to get tired like we get tired. It's not real. Of course, they're going to have some honeymoon stage, blah, 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 right? All of that. And then after some time, it's not going to be the most important thing anymore. It's just not. And maybe it's better for them to figure that out younger than older. Maybe that would be something, and all of us adults, we know. Maybe that's something for them to get a grip on younger than older. Maybe we have more successful marriages. Maybe we see more happy marriages. Because a lot of our kids are looking and saying, I don't want to get married like that. I just don't want to do it like that. If that's what marriage is, I don't even want it. So we got to revisit this, please. Please revisit this issue in your given communities with your given cultures and your cultural norms, cultural success, right? Because for Black Americans, I get it. It just doesn't apply all the way to you. But as Muslims, it applies very, very well. So please, for ourselves, for our children, find a way to revisit these issues. Sorry if I'm offending anyone. I don't mean to offend anyone. I'm telling you, I just care about the next generation of Muslims. I really do, you know?
It's real talk.
Yes, subhanAllah. My mom would say, Ibn, calm down. That's what she says. She said, I see you on the computer. Ibn, calm down. I said, okay. Yeah.
All right, we'll go with Green Jacket first, and then we'll go with you after.
Sorry, sister. If you can stay afterwards, we'll make sure we get all the questions for the people that we didn't get, because I don't have anything till later. So I'll stay to get the rest of the questions out, inshallah. Can I answer this first?
Before, I have to repeat it because just to let the audience yeah. So the question was, the sister stated was, I'm in a long distance relationship with my mother. I don't spend time with her, but it says in a hadith that from the Prophet ﷺ that paradise lies in under my mother's feet. So how does that work? If I don't have a relationship with my mother, how do I end up in Jannah, and so on and so forth?
So everyone put two fingers up like this. Bismillah. Everybody like this. The Prophet ﷺ, he said something which means, and I've literally started a whole company, clothing line, everything behind this, right? Because this is the thing that helped me in the Deen find my place, find who I was, and find my identity to be okay as a man. The Prophet ﷺ, he said which means, right, that whoever takes care of an orphan, him and I will be like this in Jannah. That's first and foremost. You can put your hands down now. Why is that important? Because in Islam, anyone who doesn't have a mother and a father, they are orphan. So when you see this like in Quran, or you see this in certain places, that's what's meant when you hear the word orphan. And so I grew up around a lot of orphans. None of us had our fathers. My father got killed, all my friends' fathers went to jail, so it's just a bunch. So, and then some of my friends, they didn't have their mothers or fathers. Mothers did drugs, right? Like just the most horrific stuff that you can think of. Far worse than getting remarried, right? And for me, when I seen the place of the orphan in the Deen, I said, subhanallah, this is who I need to be. Because for an orphan, this is for the adults, is that anyone who doesn't have a mother or a father, right? You have fard ayn and you have fard kifaya. You have a personal obligation between you and Allah, like the 5 pillars, like shahada, praying, fasting, psalm, hajj, like that, right? That's like that's personal between you and Allah Ta'ala, right? But then you have fard kifaya. So you have this communal obligation. And the communal obligation, if there's a wrong, right? If one person fixes it, then all of us are okay. If no one fixes it, then the entire community is sinful. Here's the thing, so if there's an orphan in a community, then someone, a communal obligation, has to make that person feel not motherless or not fatherless. If you haven't received this, I'm telling you, I'm sorry for you, and I pray Allah Ta'ala forgives the adults for not making you feel like this. That's first and foremost. But we don't really know our Deen that well. So things like this happened, right? The second part of this is that, no, even if your mother doesn't have a relationship to you, you have one to her. Period. Just period, right? Why? Because in Quran it says, honor thy mother and thy father. It doesn't say anything, and then later on in the ayah, it gives you like some rewards you'll get from that, and then some punishments that you can receive from not honoring them, right? The thing is that, but it said nowhere in that entire chapter, respect them if they respect you. It said nowhere, honor them if they honor you. It said nowhere to be good to them if they're good to you. It just said honor them and it will be good for you. So this idea of paradise laying at the foot of your mother. I got a friend, his mom's been smoking crack since we were kids. Like you guys watch like rap videos and all this and all that, or see movies about drug addicts. Like a large part of the group of people that raised my friends were drug addicts. And she would embarrass him a lot when we were young. She would embarrass him very, 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 very bad when we was young. She would take his video console, like the PlayStation, and she would sell his PlayStation for drugs. He would cry and cry and cry. He'd get some new clothes or something from one of his aunts or uncles like that. She'd come outside and give it to one of the drug dealers and say, hey, this is for your kid. I need some free drugs. And then we come to school and it's like, yo, ain't that your coat, bro? And he's like, yeah, I need to borrow yours because my mom sold mine. This guy's been to jail. He's been around, man, more than you can think of. His mom still does drugs today. Do you know that he makes sure that he sees his mother every single day? Sometimes she still curses him out. Because now it's embarrassing. My son, he's a Muslim, he's coming in his stove and everything, and he's coming to a place that I don't want him to come to. But he goes every day, Mom, I just want a hug. Here, Mom, I'll buy you a cell phone. I'm buying you this cell phone just so I can call. Even if she sells, he doesn't care, it's another cell phone just so I can call. If I call you, Mom, you don't answer, Mom, I'm going to come find you. So now she keeps the cell phone and she lets him call. So my thing is, the point that I'm getting at, right? And sorry to give you like examples from like how we grew up, right? But we're all human beings and this is all one world, right? So it's applicable in being human beings, right? Is that I don't care what your mother did. If you really want to find a sweetness with her, just be good to her. And overlook and forgive any wrong that she has ever done. Just overlook her. Ya Allah, forgive my mom. 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 Really, like, ya Allah, forgive my mom. Constantly, 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 constantly. That's your job. And she has to do it with her mother as well. But that's your job. And the thing about it is the Prophet ﷺ, right, he said that when the offspring of Adam dies, when the Muslim of Adam dies, ﷺ, that when the Muslim, that when he dies, all of his deeds, they stop except for 3. Knowledge of a continuing benefit, those things you learned and you taught, and they taught somebody, and they taught somebody, and they taught somebody, and they taught somebody, you get all of that even in your grief. That's for you. Charity of a continuing benefit. You gave up this or whatever it may be, and then they gave, and then they gave, or it benefited this, or the effort benefited. That's why everyone give to charities and give to charities a lot. You don't know where the reward, you don't know how far it's going to reach. Even that $1 you gave, you get that. And then prayers from a pious offspring. Those are the only 3 things you take with you when you die. And so my thing is, if you really love your mom, try your best to be good. So when you die, you can pray for your mom. It didn't say prayers from any offspring, prayers from a pious offspring. So if you really want to help this relationship, do your best to find piety. And you only can find that through learning and practicing. Learning and practicing. And I tell you something, a good Muslim is beautiful in the sight of anybody. Anybody, even the naysayers. Beautiful. If you present yourself to your mother, not as a little girl, just as a good Muslim. Mom, I'm your Muslim sister in Islam, and I'm going to be a good Muslim to you. We didn't get a chance to be the best mother and daughter to each other, but I'm going to be a good Muslim to you, Mom. Oh no, you'll, it's like the hook and sinker. You'll have her. It may take some time, knock some rust off, because you know, in all those conversations, you haven't always been the best either, you know? It's, right, with my feelings, I haven't been the best with my mom. Well, I feel like, right, and, well, you don't understand what I had to go through when you were a kid, and so there's a bunch of misunderstanding there. It's a bunch of misunderstanding there. You feel like this, she feels like this, she feels like she knows, and it's violent, and you feel like, well, I was there too, but really you were, but you were a kid that you just don't know. And you do know what you know because you were there, but you just don't know from her perspective. None of you know from your parents' perspective. You don't know. You do know. And the only thing that makes me think about things now from my parents' perspective is being a parent. That's it. Because now I say, whoa, you were right. I had no idea how hard it was to raise me. I had no idea that some of those mistakes you made those mistakes with sincere intention to help me. I had no idea. So I'm telling you, please, these 3 things, knowledge, charity, and be a good person. Because your mother's going to die, and she's going to need you then, perhaps more than she needs you now. Likewise, your daughter, the one that you're going to raise, if you don't want the cycle to continue, raise her to be a good Muslim, a firm Muslim, so she will pray for you when you die and break that cycle, inshallah. Yeah.
The only things I want to add is the fact that you're asking that question and you care shows that that's a pain that's affecting you. You want a relationship with your mother, right? You're not ready to walk away. So that's a blessing from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and you keep at it. Your love with her is not conditional. So as brother said, that doesn't matter what she did, at the end of the day, she's your mother. And in the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us to be good to them, and we seek forgiveness for them. And something that's important to remember is look at the good qualities that your mother has, and there's, I'm sure, plenty, and make dua for those. And this goes for any human relationship. Too often we're making dua for someone for the bad that we see in them. And so then therefore that's all we walk around seeing in them. Whereas see the goodness in your mother and ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to strengthen her in that good, and it softens your heart towards her. But nowhere in your mind tell yourself that you're okay with the way things are. Be like, this is a pain I feel, and I know that having a relationship with my mom is gonna help me. And at the end of the day, like you said, your mom's gonna soften up. She wants your love. I'm sure she's hurting just as much as you are. And inshallah, keep making that effort. And remember, with each effort that you're making, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is aware of how difficult it is for you. And inshallah, He's gonna reward you for your sincerity and honor you for that.
And there's about having mercy on our parents. It's that the Muslim is a mirror for each other. The believers were a mirror for each other. So what you see in me, or this bad, it may be something that you see in you, right? And our scholars, they say, if you really want to get to know yourself, they say, get to know your parents. They say, perhaps that some of the good they do, you'll do that good too. And perhaps some of the sins they commit, you'll commit those sins too. So really what you're finding more than anything is more identity crisis than anything else. You want to, go ahead. No, yeah. You have to get to know her. And the only way you're going to get to know her, you get more flies with honey than you do with salt. Be the sweetness. Just be sweet to her. When she thinks of you, my daughter's so sweet. SubhanAllah. Just be sweet. And it's never too late to come back around and be sweet. Just be sweet. So that way you can get to know her and get to know you. And that way you can teach your daughter who she is. Inshallah. And you can do it a lot. We got cell phones and computers now, and then we got everything. I can FaceTime you. You guys remember the Jetsons? No, you're too young.
Barakallahu feekum. The session has ended. We've exceeded time. Thank you all for coming, and give a round of applause for our speakers today.